this one isn't.
All right. Praise, praise, praise. So we're going to start with, am I on? Yeah, I'm on. So we're going to start with making a mandala offering as a token for requesting the teachings, and then Geshe would lead the way with refuge and bodhicitta. So if you know the shebang, just join in.
Sangye
Chonan soge chonan la chanchu badu dani kyamsuchi dagi chuchi gibe sonandi rola penchi sangye drupashu
Sangye
chonan soge chonan la chanchu badu dani kyamsuchi dagi chuchi gibe sonandi rola penchi sangye drupashu
Sangye
Chonan soge chonan la chanchu badu dani kyamsuchi Dagi chuchi gibe sonandi rola penchi sangye drupashu
Kangi tuzengi zone tawa tamche tambi shere tambi chunu tenze kwadam gyala chanse lo. Good evening, everyone. Kazinganzu the gyal group called magic. Shoot there was right.
So in the last few sessions, Geshe has been speaking about refuge. So we're going to continue with this topic. Sam the man. Hi.
Sam Jenny New Year's.
So have you studied some Dharma before? or
제 권념을
so not at all, just a little bit.
제가 진짜 가서 당간지 난추 비기래야 난추 수수 라렌도 딸 거야 아니 cam도 세트 고추고 거래서 진짜 먼저 난추 라렌 땅이래야 아니 cam도 못 쳐야지 딘토고레 저기 그냥 지당 이게 딱 난추 세디 그 저기 뒤따도 소리래 난추래야 렌스 숨고네 렌스 찍디 아니 남비 셀스 잖아 아니 저초바직 그러 이게 다지 쇠균 그 소리지 많이 봐 남도 그 소리지 많이 봐 이게 리빙 톤마 다시 째지니 때는 벽이 비기 아니 렌센티 아니 세리도 찍바레샤스 인디다 송데 거레스라
석윤사
쇠균은 다지 남도 소리지 녹소 소리지
whatever practice we undertake in the Buddhist tradition, it begins with refuge. So our practice is informed by going for refuge. But before we get to the topic of refuge, just as His Holiness often says with respect to the Buddhist tradition, look, you can look at the Buddhist tradition in three different ways. So you can look at three different categories of things that we deal with in the Buddhist tradition. First off, we have Buddhist science, which means that rather than looking at certain traditions or popular beliefs or traditions that we have in the Buddhist tradition, we first of all want to look at how Buddhists view the way that things exist. We call it Buddhist science.
세리 용락이다 즉 세리바세 디 아니 비기라야 직제된 조로디 치니 수진이야 그죠 제바치진 조치 수진 도야 아니 심주 탈심을 제지 아니 디게 가서다 내루다 마소나 아니 원처치니 단 직대기 칸들이야 간지 팬디 주고는자 아니 레버키 거는자 and the thought that the change so the don't
So the first section of the teachings can be called Buddhist science. So the sciences, we have contemporary science, for example, in which people do different types of research. They mainly focus on external phenomena, and those external phenomena can be viewed as physical things that have form. So an extensive research is done on different topics in this worldly realms, dealing with different things that have some forms of manifestation of physicality. And we seek in science to develop a better understanding of their mode of existence. And then we harness the understanding of the mode of existence in order to either benefit the world, but we also use it in a certain detrimental way. Like, for example, creation of nuclear weapons and so forth, demonstrate our way of using scientific understanding in order to create things that are damaging to the world. But we can also use it in order to create things that are beneficial to the world.
생금 리버스에 중국어 대단히 가주스 빙사고 지시기면도 하모고 되는 최바세바이나 안 조디지 안 서로와지 기도요 맞아 조디 원시인갈 때비 같이 원부시발 때비 서로의 통 아니 마도 실사고에 남비 쇼미시비 비 원내기지 생금나 아니 이지 시바세 디토야 아니 죽투여서 말았어 인자탄 망추게 조 생금 그리빠티기 아니 제가 탈스바지 아니 지리어버다 시우슈요레스.
Then there are fields of science such as psychology. And Geshe doesn't know much about contemporary psychology and the way that it is approached from an academic perspective, but maybe some of it is dealing with how the input that we get from our senses, the physical senses, influences our mental perspective. But still, it lacks a certain understanding, deep understanding or precise understanding of the working of the mind, the mental consciousness, which is what we have in the Buddhist tradition, a deeper understanding of the working of the mental consciousness.
아니 다 유시에디 레벨에 잘 걸었어. 이내야 배는 남비숑 지 잠바이나 아니 레벨디 아니 르레야 저여봐. 르 엄보든 저여봐. 원싱나디 르가 엄보레 뜨니 아니 율 주고 주스디 세우슈지어레스.
생각을 해봐도 원시에다 늘리시다 주도 지금 말에 먼저 있죠.
이시 거지 이시바세디 거질 레벨에서도 이시바 켈랭은 다 디거다 세리바이
다들 생각을 해봐라던데
서로와
So then, in terms of the working of our consciousnesses and minds, then we have the operation of sense consciousnesses, which are linked up with the brain. So maybe a prevalent approach ascribed the working of our cognition to functionality of the brain, which means that the function of consciousness is explained on the basis of brain.
그래서 이시바만 남기 쇼니시비 남시 타마디 제리 따르나요 요래.
근데 디 참리 남시 타르브데 요마레 이네 레베 가사 레바탄 생칸 리파 디니라 생칸 리파 레바 덴데 시다 시기 말에 셈토라 시 요레 디 레바라 덴데 데와 요레 이네 so 초와 카임
샘 문제온 직전에 샘 가고 이게 샘그 아니 샘 문제온디 샘디 컬러 샤버스
이 상관을 가서 디 셈엘라 셈데 셈이시다 요마레
요마라.
So, is there anyone here that has studied psychology? So, is there a definition of consciousness or mind in psychology?
Oh, sure, there is.
But is it a clear, kind of very clear and precise? Sorry?
No, it's true, they don't. But they would have a definition.
It doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, then the semyamana shebasa di seni den sebo shagi mare.
The 샘디 컬러 샤버스.
Kaula shagires na.
샘 문제 단도지.
So, is there any attempt to identify what it is? Like,
There's a continuing debate about whether there's a consciousness that's separate from the brain. So a lot of neuroscientists say that the brain is all there is. And then there's a lot of others that are trying to prove that there's consciousness. But the debate is still raging.
but no, I would say that probably when we look at psychology itself, psychology deals less with neuroscience. Neuroscience is more like a medical, would you say, medical field or linked? But
Psychology can be very medical and very physical as well.
yeah, clinical. So when you go into psychology, do you focus a lot on neuroscience, or is it like one topic that you can go into?
Focus a lot on physical neurotransmitters, the way the brain works, the way the body affects the brain, and vice versa.
We have also,
I think you get someone like Norman Deutsch, in the positive psychology area where they're looking at how the mind affects the brain. So there are some, but because it's a new science, it's only the last 20 years or something.
Tadila Chick Samsa the Seni than the Sabo Yomare. Yan Sankan Ripana la Tadu Mindam and Diarwa. That Chidan Jena Kilshawaina. The level at Tene Sheval Legajetantola Shimjuchi Yoresa. Kashi Shevel Legajetan the Lebeta Legajetan Tone than the Chick Jeshiga. Sankani Pakashigi di Kelangi Mare. The Lebegi Tsala Dewa Yonayan di la Sem thing Yores, ne Sem Tsai Legajetan di Kelangi Mare. Chazan Sengitone Lebe Tsa Dewa Yore, Lebe Tsatone, Semno Dewa Yovadi, and the Chick Kelangi Yore, Chazan Taduminda Yore.
In the third one, the same Korang is Chayajala.
Di Yomare, di Nambe Shun Dawo the Yomare.
Chazada, any Chazada Nambi Shongi, any Pena, Nadu Lu Chongigi, Lu with Guye, Kal Tingi Yameti, Penata Chick Terry Shongi, the Sill Shuch, Lu with Truchadi, Sill Shuch turn to us. Did not shingi any non same river than the said, any same namshati, the Kanji Sishu did, Tantabar the Sishu did, and Nambishon on the Tendevachi, Silver Basra.
Anyway, the point that Geshe wanted to make is that while from a scientific perspective, contemporary science, there is a better or greater understanding of physical phenomena and also the makeup of the body, the human body. Still, in terms of understanding mind and the working of mind or consciousness, the Buddhist tradition has a far better or deeper understanding of the working of mind.
But there is a Tanganzula, Lutan semi yobati, the Sivu Shuji Chanza, and Lula Dembigi. Jordan Chigdan, Semla Dembi, and they took Namsha Chik, me Chigi of a Tian, and the Sishu di Nambi Shonolea, Siu Shuj Teores, in the Dingi, and Jurum di called Jigpi Chevachin, Jigpi Chevachin, then a Pagi of a chance, di Seri Res Lama, Chogoros, the
And despite not being able to come up with a really precise definition of what it is, let's say from a scientific perspective, still, when we look at what's occurring to us on a physical level and on a mental level, we can roughly distinguish two levels of experiences. We have what we experience on a physical level a sensorial level, and what is experienced on a mental level. We have pleasure and pain that are experienced on a sensorial or physical level, and the one that is experienced on the mental level. And we can also approach them through analysis and investigation that uses reasons and logic.
These are any Tanganzula Kargori Slav Digi, Nanzugi, Ringilaya, and it's Dosudi, Deva Deva, the Dungam Devati, and Tamjilaya, Chiguryavanza, that there was Sendo Yavatan, Tungam Pondi Yavatia, Kochigurya, two Shawandi, and Dinji Tavlamia, shown Pena, and Lugi, and Digitria, Lug, and Dumasea, Dinashingi, Semge, and Dedu, and that Duriata, Sayag, Tavlam Yongoya, the Jikorang Tonita, Kutara Yovanza, Yongo Waras.
So then when we look at these two levels of experience, the physical and the mental, we can see that innately, all of us work on the basis of seeking happiness and well-being and wanting to avoid suffering and pain. All of us are exactly the same in seeking happiness and wanting to avoid suffering. When we look deeper into that, we can see that physically we look for comfortable sensations, for pleasurable sensations, for sensations of well-being, and we want to avoid pain. And exactly the same thing happens on a mental level. we seek to develop a greater degree of mental happiness or well-being and to avoid mental pain.
데리딘다 아니 단 남긴 남비기 숑야 아니 기체슈진 셰지래야 가리어스라운디 류기 데두다 셈 데두이래야지 제체다 마소나 도로디게 아니 셈 데두디 하장기 아니 또 채워지 류 데두디 텔레비기다 지 아니 슈총아지 그 남자 체는 소요레스 다디 나도 도스파 아니 심주 제가 있느냐 심주 제 투야지다 먼저 또 투야지기 내단지 레도스라.
And the most important thing is to recognize that whatever occurs to us on the mental level is much more significant than what occurs to us on a physical level. The physical level is less significant, the mental level is more significant. This is what scriptures say, but we don't suffice with that. If we look at our experiences and our reactions to them, if we conduct a certain research with respect to our physical and mental experience, we can see how whatever occurs to us mentally is more significant than what occurs on a physical level.
대자다 페널뷰 데두 요사디 안주 류가 땡고연자 땡시 류디 아니 단 남비숑노래야 단 지금 정실 주비게 아니 수지 차고자 간지 수지 차고자다 류 데두디 치기다 아니 정실 때니 아니 데두 용기여버지 디차고자 디세야 탑시디야 아니 정실 때니 조 정실 때니 아니 데워주고야다 아니 동아세고야지 류 내단디 딘지 차고레스.
So in looking at the presentation of the body, for example, from a Buddhist perspective, it is said that from a Buddhist perspective, the way that the body is established is said to be established from the 4 elements. So then external conditions related to those elements play a role in our experience of happiness or pleasure or pain. So a certain change in the elements contributes to a certain change in our experience of happiness or pleasure and pain.
Tezda da semg dedu sayadi semg dewadruya da dunga sayadi chidan ani ke lulaya tuyana zudi ani jongshi togni ani semg dewadruya da dunga setugresna tetsam zawin da zotu yomares ro zotu yomares kansna ani dedu jonsa gi sem koran sari samten truyoyenza ani o dindiji toni 아니 semg dedu this 아니 dewadru koyada dunga se koyagi 아니 koran nigdo tomaji chagorestarwa.
And then when we look at mental consciousness, the mental level, we cannot deal with happiness or suffering simply in relation to external conditions or the 4 elements. Mental happiness and the removal of suffering is done on the basis of the mind being a mere entity of cognition and clarity. Rather than focusing on the 4 elements, the focus that is placed is on the mind being a mere entity of cognition and clarity.
근데 나도 지금 셈 맞기보다 아니 지금 셈을 남자 중에 거야 다 지금 세야기 아니 탑로야 지금 아니 작사대야 소거다 아니 지금 zemen sadela so dindi chigora di nekap yachi ani madobi ngoni gi tsamachi and di thon setu yachi yomara wasra.
Just to illustrate that, when we experience mental unhappiness or anxiety or other mental states, we can result to we can try to address that using external conditions, like, for example, taking drugs or medicine, taking certain medication that dull the pain. But that gives us temporary relief. It's not like a long-term complete fix to our mental state.
There's that the Karisegors and the same with the Dugdi, so Johnson the same in Jongoyanza, same in Jongi, and the Dugdi, same in Seguage.
The point is, from the Buddhist perspective, that mental happiness or suffering arises from the mind. So if we want to cultivate a greater degree of happiness and to remove suffering, we have to do it with the mind, on the basis of mind.
the same they do the call the jungle do Islam, the ambition, the same should be Chadang to Zula, and Chadang and Jongdang, Chadang in Zindang, Chadang in Chile, but the same shooters. In G Tony, and it's Sam Maron and Indeed Tony, and it's same year, Dungan Tengi. That's that thing on Zuliata, and the Chadang the Nyoyenza, Chadang Shuchi Galia. So I need my give a young thing on the new to go as well.
So then, in order to understand that better, we look at our experiences of happiness and suffering, the ones that we experience on the mental level, and begin with questioning the origin. Where do they come from? How do states such as attachment and anger arise? How do they apprehend reality? What is the function of those states of mind? And how is it that at the end they turn to be unsuitable states of mind, inappropriate states of mind? And we can all assess that based upon our own personal experience. So we experience anger, we experience attachment and so forth. And we know based upon our subjective experience that these states of mind are unhappy states of mind.
Tezata Nanzulaya, Chadang Kivi Kadulaya, and Chadang Kisigi Yulaya, and Nimbi Sonaya, and Chadang Pechuena, and Magiba Durdrayata, Kanga Mandraj Madobi, Kanga said to your melody, Sivshujoras.
So we have anger and attachment present, and if we give way to them and add to them more than what there is already there, if we give way to the increase of those afflictions, it's not that they make a situation better. It's more like we end up in having more problems, more unhappiness.
Tezata Nambi Shonalaya, Kanchi Karmu Karish Shedevania, Tatu on the Chadang Monsum Sayagi, Oyagi, Tap Vashiji Tolia, Drogo dosra, Nambi Shona Jambaina, Nanchu Chiagi, Zodi, and Rangi Yugi, Chadang Monsum Sayagi, and Samlo, and Tapshi Tindigilia, Nanchus, Nanchu, Tindichados.
So therefore, at the end, our goal in the Buddhist tradition, the purpose is to use techniques in order to eliminate once and for all our anger, attachment, and ignorance. The Dhamma solely teaches ways of eliminating our anger, attachment, and ignorance.
Reda Chadang Sevachibalaya, and in Zawa the Masuna Pilia, coach and Zamasogonza, Zawa Tardubadi, and that Ranchin Senamandu, Nanzi Senamandu, Danzin Sati, Kanji, and Nil Tekonanilaya, Mumbi, and Mumba Mariba Tea, Zawa Chichinta, and Chadam Jengi Yobadi, Chaganza, and Zawa Koran. So Koran Koyagi Tabshi Namju Chipin, the Childos.
This is the essence of the Buddhist tradition, the elimination of our anger, attachment, and ignorance. So we need to remove them. We need to remove not only anger, attachment, and ignorance, but also a self-cherishing attitude, a self-grasping attitude, grasping at I. Ignorance that is ignorant with respect to reality, which gives rise to anger, attachment, and so forth. All of these are states that we address in the Buddhist tradition and work in order to eliminate them once and for all.
Lo di you want the Sony, any countries teva in ya, any Shinjolo Tungri Matobi, and could you listen to somebody, so in Tatu Maras. The Tamatuti, Woman, Tayadi, Tota Duruman, Mata Duri, two city, and Chadan said it, the Dinishin leg was drop.
It's quite a nice presentation when you start to look at it. So we look at how objects exist and how our mind is in error with respect to the mode of existence. It is completely erroneous with respect to how objects exist, and coming under the influence of that error with respect to the reality, the mode of existence, where our vision is completely skewed. We either see things as being too elevated or too pushed down, right? We make either too much of them or too less of them. So having a skewed vision of reality is just like coming up with a blueprint for a certain building, but getting all the numbers wrong. So if you get all the calculations, all the number wrong, you get everything wrong in the house that you want to build right from the very foundation. So in a similar way, we don't see reality precisely the way that it is. We either see too elevated, or too pushed down, too much, too less. And since we haven't got a good vision of reality, it becomes completely skewed. Of course, everything that will follow from that will be skewed.
Before you progress too further, earlier on, you said the definition of mind was mere cognition and clarity. That, I mean, from a Western psychology point of view, that is not the definition of mind. That is very distinct, clearly a Buddhist definition of mind. And, you know, I read recently that mind travels on the winds in our central channel. This is where the mind is in our body. Well, in a Western perspective, that's not where mind is at all. Mind is up here in our brain, made of matter, chemicals. And, you know, I think this is a really big difference that when a conversation is had like this, in this context, that it can get very confusing. It can get very confusing for us, who, when mind is said to be mere cognition and clarity, that is not a Western definition of mind at all. So there is no question there, but there is just that observation that I think often Buddhist teachers get a bit, you know, like that's not the way us, you know, we were talking psychology, that's why I brought it up. He was talking psychology. From a psychological point of view, you know, that's not, the mere cognition and clarity is not a definition of mind. From a Western perspective.
All right.
Western. Yeah, and I guess, so the mental happiness arises from the mind. You know, I feel as though something else that Geshe was really not talking about within this context of this conversation is the role of karma. You know, I think often we are unhappy because of karmic imprints, and that is, and you know, sure, it's because of not understanding the nature of reality, but why don't we understand the nature of reality? Because of past karmic imprints. And that's why the changes are so good. The Buddhist transformative techniques are so good, because they train us to remove those obscurations from our mind. But I think in this context, it's really important to talk about that role of karma too. So sorry, I've got no questions there. Yeah,
all right. Observation. But I'm wondering if people at home are hearing these comments, if someone can give me just a yes on the chat or no on the chat, just to know that you hear the comments. Yes, okay, that's good. Don't have to repeat them.
Okay.
So, Quran de tia ramaresa, ne Quran de the senri kasats. Marcene mare number shungla semsia di 세리
썸.
이제 참라된 세기로.
음.
저디 근데 노쪽이 센리 받아 된데 쇼이나 세참 리참세 디 콘서 던데 제 코토기 말해서 디 페시 킬링이 말해서 디가 세 카사 셀참 리참 카임바디 카레이 페시 콘서 코기 말해서 디가 나얀 남베 슝라 칼라게레스나 디 셈탄 롱 ngochi yore di tsala sem tan lung den de dogi yore sti an senri pala lawaina peche killing ma resa chesan drawing den de chewaina di tsamgi den de shewaina sukan peche killing to samaresa
Okay.
ani de an nambe shun la karla gyore sena krangi semgi tengi dewa den de yongi yore chiksoimba ini nambe shun la yan lela then dedu den nyongirwa season de annenga chembochi resa tenga dewan nyongire dungen nyongire khala ten nyongire namishuna yandi lela ten nyongire sin segirwa
그래.
ne de annenga chembochi resa ta season kurande chiwa ram resa
근데 일단 저랑 섬주 시가 인자. 저랑 이 랍단 니 고단으로 저랑 이 레르된 중국을 세트다. 안지 샘기 남자니 뭐디 베드 로가로 질래야 고금에로 상선을 치. 앵이트 코스스.
So now with respect to the last point that you made, or the second point that you made with respect to our experiences of happiness or suffering, pleasure or pain, you said that they arise from karma, right? So then in presenting it like that, it seems that then you would almost see as like happiness and suffering occur on the basis of mind, or they occur on the basis because of karma, as a result of karma. And those two things are separate things, unrelated things. And Geshe thinks that are not unrelated, that happiness and suffering come about due to karma. And also occurring on the basis of mind, they are not unrelated to each other.
I agree.
가서
Because the
로가.
Quran the logamai, but then the killing yourself.
네, 단단 단단히 대체당 아니들이야. 돈이 친구야기 게 지단 기어마러 왔어. 니에시에 쪼로 디마레스. 있느냐 아니 빼는 누쇼비 체리비 다케랑 누쇼비 체리비 저니 킬렌 투마르세디 당아서 계시 총자에서 때 간절하지 비길라야다 아니 원리기 체리고 초기 닌남기 디슈비스 원리기 체리고지 임바이나 레큐데 케 말랑바이나야 콘주 메바레스 자원이 라고 말했어 원리기 체리고지 뭐나 라고 말했어 가서 체리고 초기 라탄디 아니 심죽 지진 매번이나 매버레스야다 여번 많이나 여버레스 말아바디 군수있다 오늘 남주지래도 왔어.
So I guess let's start off with that, and we end up in speaking about the Buddhist beliefs and science. And Geshe didn't mean to end up in having that discussion, but since we got on to that discussion. Geshe says that no, it's not going to argue whether from a Western point of view they would accept the definition of mind as the Buddhist tradition gives. Geshe doesn't have much to add on top of that, but he thinks that if you're conducting a research, if you're like a genuine researcher, you would make, even if you wouldn't be able to, even if you don't accept karma, you would not necessarily say that karma doesn't exist. So there's a difference between not having accepted it or asserting that it doesn't exist. Like, for example, you can look for something and at the end reach a conclusion that that thing doesn't exist. Or you can look for something and not see its existence. So if you cannot see that it exists, it's not tantamount to it not existing.
Yeah.
I think that's the same with Western psychology that's looking at what is mind or consciousness, the ones that are more open and saying, we know it's not the brain, but we don't know what it is because it's not quantifiable. So we're not sure what it is, but we know what it's not, which is the brain.
Tadi Quran senkan ipakashi kalla gyoresana semse adi leva minds ine senri petone dende shimchu jene chewaina tsedenda uchi shagogorwa tsedende shamatu sang kara imi latugi maresa sebu maresa leva mares ine kara imi latugi mares dende mambo chila gyores
Dir tagarares 지성이들 라고 그랬어. 안단다 진짜 원리기 비 로스르분데 심주 징지기 아니 케 만나바 대단 메바레스 라바티니리아 케바페치 부차고 그랬어.
And this is the point that Geshe is trying to get at, in a sense that even if you would not be able to accept a certain position for the time being, it doesn't mean to say that it doesn't exist at all. It's not the same thing.
단다 이 원리기 인다 겨울무치했다고 이마이나 로순주 서지기 린레야 세리과 작진 망보던 냠도 까들 망부슈 난사레스 pen 단디 차도즈냐 다지 아니 샘감 리비 토려야 아니 배 가드이나 아니 손도 소진 존이 나진 간지 콘주게 피글이야 아니 야세 야탐바 또 마투가 있느냐 콘주 이원 초대바지 차고레스티 이 차고레스로.
Zonas have been having a discussion with foremost scientists on various topics, like, for example, psychology, the topic of the mind, and the understanding of both sides increases. And at least even if some don't totally understand how it is viewed in the Buddhist tradition, still it inspires great interest or great enthusiasm.
What would Geshe say from the Buddhist point of view is the difference between mind and consciousness, or are they the same in some respects?
Number shungla semtan shebasea di chikparves logares.
찍바.
Same.
Right. Yes.
다들다 서리점 레세디 계란기는 쇼비 트리 떠니 킬링 말세데 서리점 세디 계란기 난 통구 열었어. 니 계란 통구 열었어. 당니 계란기 난 미키 통구 연자 계란기 난 미키 통수세 미디 아니 통인기 미트다 통규기 니 수분이 못들이야 아니 시민주의 제바이나 아니 사점 직점 세들이야 고진이 토에 레버요레스.
Now, one thing that also you mentioned is that the definition of mind or consciousness, a mere clarity and cognition, it will not be accepted by contemporary scientists. Or it's not accepted by science in general. Well, Geshe says that when you look deeper into that, for example, he sees you, you see him. So there is that which sees, like the eyes, and then the form that is seen. The seeing of a form can be explained on the basis of mere clarity and cognition.
다 간스나 먼저 미키 시비기 요통수디 남비숑의 시험디 미원세기 수탐모디 내사기 땐다 마스는디 먼저 미기 아니 샤도도 차보디 타다디 미원기 땐래 샤고레스 다 안 통규 수디 미원라야 멜론데 데비 미원라야 샤고레 땐이 아니 미시기 수통하디 디샤고레스로.
When the process of seeing, for example, you or your form is explained from a Buddhist perspective, it is said that you have the eyeball, right? So there is this organ here, this round globe. Then inside it, there is what we call the eye sense bar, which is a subtle form. So on that, and it acts like a mirror. It is able to reflect the form. So it reflects form, and on that basis, seeing is facilitated or it is available.
데리다 더 믹시 수통 디지 믹시 샤고로스 믹시 샤야디 믹시디 율 디틴도 샤게인다 아니 가서다 온부 디틴도 샤 과샤 더 심죽 제고로스 라.
So then we go into an investigation with respect to what is the thing that sees form. Is it that eye consciousness sees the form? Is it that this subtle organ within the eye sense bar, is that the thing that sees form?
데즈다 디 아니 온부 코랑 지구든데 네바 말이 율 지구든데 네바 말이 온부 레야 있든 율 체벌 때니 율 살삼 다가나 율 릭삼 다가나 미시 마샤나 로사 싸우니 요 말이스.
So is it that seeing form is in the object? Is it in just the sense power? So when you look into that, at the end, the conclusion that you get to is that the eye consciousness seeing the form is done through just mere clarity and cognition. Anyway, we ended up in speaking about this point, kind of in digressing or diverging a little bit from the main topic that Geshe wanted to talk about. So we spoke about happiness or suffering rising from the mind. So when a mind becomes narrow, uptight, quite close, we can see that it contributes to a lot of mental suffering and pain. It arises from a mind that is closed, that is uptight.
And mixa di soso chikbola ya mixin and mi gyang rimbuda and gyachimola ya te matuba soso chikbola ya mixin te ondi di genchin and tes ching mandina langsan chik and sam shimdra ya da and kondro sadra ya soba and chik chadan ki chojo samlo di tonen jengyo di sunguyores.
When the mind becomes narrow, it is when it is confined by a self-cherishing attitude, the main thing, the only thing that it can see is I, things that are related to I or me. It is not able to view things in a vast or extensive way. It views things from the prism of I or me. And when slight things happen, we become discouraged. We become angry. Anger, attachment, and so forth arise from a mind that is narrow, that is controlled by a self-cherishing attitude. But then if we open the gate for the mind, we make it vast and extensive, then we might encounter certain conditions, but they become minute. we're not that affected by those external conditions, and it's easier to maintain a mind that is well.
참선이야 간주 다 기비신이 된게 간주에 락동세저로 푸견 게 친구자데 텔레페자그레스 디기 아니 푸자서 초들에 의간 춘중치 그게 자서들에 같이해요레스 근데 같이야 니 추거르치니 푸자와이나 깨제 자그마레스 그래서 같이야 파거니 푸자와이나 아니 빼디 롱바거나 아니 강대 깨지 갸트고레스
Diga eu achei lá.
디 페자지
So I should have said that, it's if we open the gate for the mind, make it more vast and extensive, we can develop a greater degree of mental well-being. So sometimes an analogy is given to that related to the topic of a spiritual friend, a virtuous friend. It is said that it is like the way that you would use a long horn. So if you've seen those long horns that Tibetans play, right? Sometimes those horns that are placed on the monastery's roof, the mouthpiece is really small and the back end of the horn is wide, right? So if you blow air through the small mouthpiece, at the end of the horn, there is a loud sound that is being projected everywhere. So if you turn that horn and you try to blow from the wide opening, no sound will come out of the narrow opening at the end.
These are any send the chosa the getches like patatuena, getches about tatuena, and chow chonsa rigi, and surely and do this. Chaguanza, and on Tagaras, Lomba di Nangolaya, Debuch in Negochona, and Lomba di Digitolia, sound Antoena, love chairs, Lomba di Koran Bedi, any Tadiguji da Yaguji Mena, and it's so Dikilea, so Chipuji, Devuji, Yon Sigmaras, the Lomba di Koran Bedi, and it's Shideda, and things of Yabujana, and so Dinyamdu, and it Kibudevuji, Yon
So the analogy of a long horn is used in this particular section of the teaching, where it says that if you make the mind, if you view things from the perspective of a mind that is opening, vast and extensive, then you'd be able to make even slight things work for your advantage. Things that are minute will be able to be well accomplished by you. So for example, if you have to stay here in a place like that, if your orientation is such that you are wishing to promote the happiness and well-being of everyone in this place, you're also going to improve your own situation. Whereas if you stay in a place where happiness and well-being are not found, or the general state of being is quite poor, you yourself are also going to be affected by that.
Denjaya who Jionia Di Nyankon the Yabigi and Lomba Sodaya, Jopi Shuchimburos, Benadaji, Jacob Kashi Nanolaya, and any Tuja Chawandi, Di Nyankon the Yabigi, Lomba Soina. Tarakanga train with us, and Nanzu Zambani Chi Gu Tolly Yabigi, and Lomba Shensia, Kanga Chawandi, Nanzu Pedi. Shumantuning on the Kanga Yungudas, Pena Lodendo, and Azuta Yoya Trosons, or Dindinza, Samaloyachi, Samalo Denja Yoya Tolia, so much down to one, so Dinyam, and a Kiwioyadi, Ranching Trugores.
Our well-being and happiness are affected by the state of people around us. Right, so if people around us are not well, if they're unhappy, it will also affect our happiness and well-being. So not only in people in our close proximity, also just in general, when you look at the way that we now experience situation on a global scale, looking at, for example, neighboring countries. In general, if you belong to a certain country, there are always problems and difficulties in neighboring countries. It will also affect the situation in your country, right? We don't live in places that are totally isolated or unrelated to countries around us. And this is certainly demonstrated in COVID-19, what we experienced in this year, how we're affected by the epidemic globally. So we can see how, this premise of if things work well on a global level or more extensive level, it will also affect our happiness and well-being.
대자다 남비 쇼노노다 셴데 삼고도스 란치고 레야 아니 삼데는 부스토 차야지 모도비 주리야지 모도 셴데 삼고도세 아니 셴데 삼비 로레야 로종 친구도세디 내가 탈투고 지래도 왔어.
So then in the Buddhist tradition, we speak of developing the wish to be of benefit to others. If we remain enclosed within an attitude of pursuing unhappiness for our sake alone, rather than pursuing the welfare of others, we'll still continue to experience unhappy states. The final training that we want to take out from a Buddhist perspective is training that are involved with an altruistic intention, the welfare of others.
대다 다 셴데 삼바 삼지기 셴데 줍투야다 삼월에 펜디 줍투야지 가우차르스 요 말았다. 이 셴데 삼바라야 아니 셴데 줍투야기 아니 고급지다 미바지 여다 매기 돌아야 아니 다 심주치 온디게 아니 제 심주치 거랬더라.
Simply training in the wish, the intention to be of benefit to others, of course, is not enough. It's not that simply just training in that intention will bring about the benefit of others. You then have to look at case by case scenario and see whether there's something that you can do in order to act for the welfare of others.
들다 심주그 다지 주된 그 타마로디 아니 가을니르 와레슬라운디 다지 셴된 체발이야 셴기 샘감던 튠비기 아니 남규된 투야가 소바 셴기 샘감던 튠비 메바드 튠비 깨지시에 투야가 소바 서든 체 투야가 소바 어디기 마용 파르도 아니 셴된 탈심벌지 아니 제투 메바디 아니 주데르스라.
When you look closely into that and assess whether you can be of benefit to others or act for the welfare of others, you need to check whether you can act in a way that accords with the disposition of others, whether physically you accord with the dispositions of others, whether your way of speaking accords with the disposition of others, whether your mental state, your mentality can be accord with others.
대다 당은주기 아니 셴기 샘감도 튠비기 깨지시 마투야 셴기 샘감도 튠비기 랍샤게 마투야디 아니 겐자 칼투르슬라나 셴기 샘감 마시베왕기 셴기 메보 마시베왕기 아니 깨지시 마투베 차와라와스 로디.
So for example, you're conversing with another person, being unable to speak to them at their level, in a sense, that in a way that accords with their mentality, with their disposition. Not being able to do that is because you don't know what is their disposition. You don't have a precise understanding of their mentality.
다디 마시야디 셴기 샘감다 아니 셴기 메보 마시야디 어느 시에 맨 마시버레 아니 시에 여버질이야 마시버레스 제버치바이나 아니 양고 tru든지 얘기로 왔어.
So then we check it out. If we converse with another person and we cannot talk to them at their level, where they're at their mentality, is it because it is impossible to know what their mentality is, what their disposition is? Or alternatively, it is possible to know what their disposition is, and yet temporarily we don't know that. Right? We can check out, we can assess those two situations. Is it impossible to know what their disposition is? Or while it is possible to know it, we still currently don't know it.
다디 시야 맨니 마시바지 자원이는 말했어. 배나 나도 지 벤주 춘준 샤바이나 산지 좀 된디 나저래 람된 나샤교디 당한 사람 고여 말되네 소식 잠바 쳐바이나 원내기 이원 쳐바지 여러봤다 배나 로니동 주기 콘래야 산지 좀 된디 람된 강나 샤바디 한데 들은 뉴스 집에 나올래야지 로조용이 미 때문에 상마 이원 쳐바디 아니 산지점 된디 나주 컴다 메바 쳇다 하신데 신신이 람던도 나여버디 세우 쇼차고 알아서
So we can look into that in Geshe break-ins that the conclusion that we can get it is that it is something that can be known. The disposition of someone else can be known, can be understood, but still currently we lack that knowledge. You can start to assess that when you look at the teachings and the trainings that the Buddha left, which are still inspiring after 2,600 years ago. After 2,600 years. So, sorry for that. So, if you look deeper into what the Buddha taught, you delve deeper into the teachings, Geshe feels that then you get the sense of how the Buddha gave teachings in a way that accords with our disposition, that accords with our mentality. And you can find that inspiring. So then you look at those teachings and say that it's not something that cannot be known or understood. It can be known. And yet we do not know. So what's the reason for our unknowingness? Well, it is due to a deficiency in certain causes and conditions. Whatever we study, whatever field of knowledge we look into, what contributes to our unknowingness is a lack of analysis or investigation, study. So those things can be dealt with. In a sense that when we study, when we learn, when we look deeper into any field of knowledge, we can undo our unknowingness.
Doctors and Karsana di Sanji Chomden di Kingoza, Tangi, any not Sanji Chigi say. The Kanjin Nambi Shonlia, not Sanji Chigi, Sheng, Sangum Shin Chedu, Shanley and Pendidru, not Sanji Chigi said. He told Legos rock.
So we can study different fields of knowledge. We can study the sciences, we can study medicines and so forth. We can also develop those motivations, those ideas. You can become intent on becoming a physician, a doctor. I will become a doctor. Similarly, you can become determined to understand the mind, to know the mind. Not only to know the mind, but also to benefit others, to work for the sake of others in helping them to understand the mind. And for that end, you think, I'll become Buddha. I will become Buddha so that I will act for the welfare of others in teaching them what mind is.
This is the ambition. Ani, Nanzugi that Toja di Sanji Komba. Sanji Komba di Diris, Toja Sanji Komba is.
So then the final object of attainment in the Buddhist tradition is Buddhahood.
다 산지 토비자 산지 공반 디 에너지 토미엘이야 지 개발로지 포도 보모리 지 메다 톤조레 딘지 개발요레스 산지 싸우님 개발요 말레스 순트치키 장투바이나 아니 드로투바이나 산지 살레투그레스 군조도 제투그레스 더디 남비 도마이비 계주 찍차고 그래서
Our final goal is to attain the state of Buddhahood. Then if you wonder, is there a difference between men and women in terms of ability to attain Buddhahood? Is it that only human beings can do it and other living beings cannot do it? From a Buddhist perspective, we maintain that on a fun level, there is no difference whatsoever in everyone's ability to attain the state of Buddhahood. Everyone can attain the state of Buddhahood.
This that Tokyo Sangi Komban di Kandaji Meiji Shimjuda Ratrabaji Machona and Telia Topa Chebalaya and Zaya di Kabushu Chagoras. These are Tokyo Sangi Komban, Moshingo said Nenga Chik Chagores.
While we maintain that everyone can attain the state of Buddhahood, still, without understanding what Buddhahood is, it's been very difficult to attain it, to achieve it. So first of all, we need to develop an understanding, an in-depth understanding of what Buddhahood is. And through that, we can know what the techniques or methods are for attaining that state.
산지 쪽에 뉴스는 나는 조다는 직접 주세서 남도 아니 톱자 탈투세 남도 디기 아니 워터셔 돼야 내가 조디 디레스라.
That is the main point in our previous discussions of the objects of refuge, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha.
그러다 디자 아니 다디 땅은 워터셔 레 돌디지다 and shoes somebody told us just and Dixarisra. This that dinti and conduction top gores, lam conduction ten gores landi, and Sanji Koraya Nazunaji chini, any Tamawaji, any Kalajami, and Sanji Kombo top dingi, Sanji Tigi, and lam dinti at the top go do say, lam din cheja you, and should he in the lam ditoliata. Drogoyanza and not the churdy, motor goyadi, churd, sanji, churd, nenga shingoyadi, and Junzet direshas.
So then in terms of the path that the Buddha laid out, first of all, the Buddha started off as an ordinary being just like us. And having developed his own spiritual attainment, the Buddha said, this is the path that needs to be followed. If you follow this path, you will attain that spiritual attainment. So the Buddha showed his Dhamma, the path of the Dhamma.
Tadirta, chudi kares lam, Zatsudi, Manzuke, Kavi Kunjus Siondi, Munzin Siondi, and Chukonjo Sadi, Namolaya, and Golam me, Goba the Lam me, Seti, and the Kona Shadus, the Kona Sundus, Ra.
In terms of the three objects of refuge, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, this is what we're talking about now here, the Dhamma. So the Dhamma, at the end, are true paths and true cessations. Nothing else, only true paths and true cessations.
In the Namgu and the Levi Tembi Tamchuse, Tembi Chuzul Munzichi, and Golam me piggy, that Joseph Chibigi, and it danger in a young, and it chew now, so Duchine, Sonyores.
But still, Vasubandhu, an Indian scholar, when he presented this topic, he said that though the Dhamma consists of true paths and true cessations, also the treatises that teach true paths and true cessations are also included within the Dhamma.
In the end, that 꺄ꯝ주 갑둘이야 꺄수 문제 치원디기 무슨 먼저다 동안이 꺄버 칭인기 꺄브도 문제 치고 깔아야 무슨 비기 뜻이 샘규 마로 왔을 때니 아니 동아 용이 땅 름바디 무슨 꺄인디 고람이 코나 차기면서 아니 디니 jaguars.
But still in a very direct way, when we look at the things that affect our happiness and well-being and what protects us from suffering, then true paths and true cessations, which are the Dhamma refuge, are said to be the protection for the mental suffering that we wish to alleviate.
네, 단 남기 고놈니는 쪼디 고버디 문진 제때 교를 차도스 간스나 단 뉴문세비 세바티기 디기 또기다 아니 동아용스 좀 저기여디 차고라서
And of these two, the main is true cessations. True cessations are the elimination of afflictions, which means that it's the elimination of these afflictive states that give rise to all unwanted things. So the main thing is the elimination of those states of the afflictions.
단 고버디 용거 쳐발아야 고버디 용거 쳐발아야디 아니 탑 아니 람디 라야 마템바 고버디 다랑줄레 춘투 마라스 딘자 다 람디 산지기 치우나는데 내가 탑도버디 람디레셔스 로다 람디 칸다지레스 라운디게 산지 점된디다 텐샤비 람디 칸다지레스 라운디게 무유 네츠기 남주 실샤베 토네 아니 장댕기 samlojilaya shagdo asra.
So the main thing is cessation. Now, in order to bring about those cessations, we depend upon paths. We depend upon the cultivation of paths in order to bring about those cessations in our mind. Now, those paths are paths that are in line with reality, the way that things are, which means that to develop a path, a true mind that sees reality in the way that it is, we follow a path that is based on honesty and truthfulness. After all, when we look at the two aspects of the teachings of the Buddha, we have the aspect of the philosophical view and the aspect of the practice of non-harmfulness. Both of these two hinge on the aspect of honesty and truthfulness.
The Yongsa is the new Tintisam Goisra. Kazana Tawatenjong said, you can tone you and told you can't did Nelu Momati, could net on Momatilia, and could net on Momati, round the never, Pilia, Tenjong told the tree over the Shilju Chingina, and it said to it, or the Digi and Sanjam data, Antulaya, Muden on the Sra. Sarzo Mare, Kayibati, and Tommy told Muden on Mudeshidasra.
So this presentation is dependent on the view of dependent arising, dependent origination, which helps us to see the reality of objects, the way that they exist, the way that they are, that they do not exist independently. They arise, they exist in dependence upon others. This is the view of dependent origination. And if we analyze this presentation, we can come to see how whatever exists in dependence on and in relation to others, which is something that the Buddha described and explained. It's not that the Buddha created something new, invented something new. He looked at how things exist in reality and gave an explanation of their mode of dependent existence.
제 딘지 뭐에 내서 통토야기 남주디 여바이나 아니 마리바 포야디 마리바 세바체디 에 답데우 슈지 차고레스로.
So if you can come to see that nature of interdependence, you can then use that in order to eliminate ignorance. You can constantly and easily come to eliminate ignorance.
데니다 다 저거 처음에 봤었는데도 장딩 상호지래도스다. 장딩 슬라원디기 나도 소소소라야 대화드려야기 톱단다 동아세기 톱단디 상호로야 지규리가 인자 소수기 대위치도 아니 샹라야 동아테데야다 샹기 아니 지 가서다 샹기 살에 좀 되어 서봐 아니 샹라야 네버 땅되어 서봐 저주 참마로 마타마데다스죠.
So we have the aspect of the philosophical view of dependent origination, and then the aspect of practice, a practice of non-harmfulness, non-violence, which means that you behave in a way that is truthful, a way that is honest, in recognizing that just like me, others also want to be happy and do not want to experience suffering. We have an equal right for happiness and equal right not to experience suffering. So it is not right to accomplish my own happiness if it comes at the expense of others. If we take the possessions of others, if we harm others in order to get our own happiness, this is not right, because all of us have an equal right for happiness and to avoid suffering. So we assert that, if we have a conversation with another person, we said, of course you have the right to be happy and a right not to suffer. However, you don't have the right to accomplish that at the expense of others. So then if we were to say that it is not right to accomplish your happiness at the expense of others, then we turn to look at ourselves and come to see the way that we behave. We've developed those habitual tendencies in which we do try to accomplish our own happiness and welfare, even if it comes at the expense of others. And this is not the right thing to do. This is not an honest way to behave. So if we cannot work for the benefit of others, if we cannot help others, at the very least, we should avoid harming them. Maybe we'll leave it here for now. Any questions?
Last week when I was falling asleep, I started turning into a dog. My body and my mind started to become a dog, and maybe this Geshe thing that's a song that
So I'll repeat the question also for people at home. So you said that last week during the teaching, you're on the.
when I was falling asleep.
No, not during the teaching, just falling asleep. Sorry. Okay. So last week when you were falling asleep, kind of you had that thought or the dream, that impression that you have a mind of a dog or body of a dog, body of a mind of a dog. Does it mean to say that in your next life you'll be born as a dog? 니야마돈타라 코란 바가치라 니 쇼도 제대로와 삼로 나오 칸데치레요레스나 코란 루탄셈 킨 다오다오치 데나오치글레선사 케란산나 나와야 삼로 디 딱 가르친 거에서는 그런 깨와 치말라 키 깨와 된데 렌사를 했어.
같이 기분 쉬쉬더라다.
Some funny.
It might be funny if it happens.
말 등한슬이야.
I can see her as a cute little pug.
물론 땅에 게임하고도 하더라.
No.
물론 들려야 게임하고도. 물론 가시야 지 마음비기 아니 지 응원다 소리지 이용초고 소리지.
Mhm.
물론 마음부 쇼지 아니 유게 한마디에 되대지. 아차도 하더라.
Well, dream in general are conditioned by so many different conditions. Some of them might have certain indications that could be true, but so many of them are caused by cause and condition. Some of them are, some of the indications or signs that they give are untrue.
대자 저는 이 쇼도 시디가 나와들래자 안 게임하면은 되어도 숙제 그랬어라.
Anyway, Geshe reckons that looking at your account, so you said that on the verge of falling asleep, you had that impression or that appearance of having a body and mind like a dog. Well, Geshe reckons that such appearances can cause by cause and conditions that you've created before.
이제 안가주지 마음비기 땅생기 물론 망치야지 토랑이야 물론 내기 물론 걸려야 다운 딘디시고레스 토랑 변다지 아니 남세로 지갈이야 다니티 아니 슈크심부터 군다 니파 아니 트러블 걸려 다 물론 지킨 거레스 디디게 다 마음비기 and dancing to Goddess.
But as far as whether our dreams are indicative of something or not, and actually in the Buddhist tradition it says that dreams that are indicative occur around dawn time or the pre-dawn period, where you have certain states of mind and certain things that appear to your mind, certain appearances, and they could be indicative of certain things in the future. So rather than what appears to your mind when you're on the verge of falling asleep, it's more like the things that appear to your mind the pre-dawn period.
그래서 저 한마디로 얘기하는 기계를 어디 먼저 자세자단 버스 랍투 그랬어. 먼저 기계를 참여 완전. 마음 받는 저랑 철이야. semba 남다 그 철이야. 대버연자. 마음을 기계를 랭 말슬라나야.
Now, being born as a dog, Geshe reckons that there's no doubt that you were that you have been. Sorry, kind of my mind is completely foggy today. So that you have been born as a dog before. After all, taking a birth doesn't have a beginning. And we've already been through countless types and numbers of births. So we can also then come to a conclusion that, yeah, we were born as a dog before. You were born as a dog before. But what about the future? Well, Geshe reckons that someone like you having deep and pure faith in the Dharma, then even if it's just going to be a statement, maybe you can say that because you have such faith and trust in the Dharma, you will not be born as a dog.
Okay.
All right. Let's dedicate. Chanchu Sanchu Rinpoche, Make Panan Kegyuchi, Kyebanyam Pame Pai, Gone Gondu Pewasho, Gewadi Nyududa, Lama Sange Drugune, Drowa Chikyama Lupa, De Sala Gopa Sho, Kanri Rawe Kawe Shikandi, Bendan Dewa Malu Juene, Chenre Siwan Tensing Getso, shape sike patu tengyu chi. Tu tsu zhang xin zhang gun yang ten zin kyong pe wei gu zu du bu zi. Cho sung ko wei le mong tu du. An dan so du shi gun du sha ten shu.
Thank you. Good night.
Nigel.
Good night.
Jela Jayong.
Kibo tang lo.
Just a reminder, if you haven't signed the register, instead of voting, have you not present? Hey.
I'm very naughty, sorry.
No, thank you.
Geshe is shaking hands, not family.
Or something.
No, it's not. Jetzt haben wir uns gegeben.
Well, I guess I'm still one is the same family.
Pure view, but bodies are different. Not to mention.
Yeah.
And there was a, yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh.
Yes, it's
Well, you see somebody from Just to come up and talk.
Oh, thanks very much. Thanks for okay. Thank you. Oh, we have to
Yes, please. We insist. I'm sorry to take you too long. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Can I see hand touching? Protect our precious spiritual. He touched me. Yeah. That's too big. Still sacrifice your health. So that's what that yes. Maybe you can do your side and then you'll tell me you guys have done last time. Be nice to bring you.
Not
Yes,
yet. Yeah, this is in, you know, they're talking because it's not second line.